This is the Nikon L35AF, and while it looks like a plastic brick, it's a lot more powerful of a camera than meets the eye. So a lot of you enjoyed the last time I shot with this camera, and I thought to do another video with it. That video I shot with a pretty expensive film stock, CineStill 800T. This time I want to kind of do the opposite and shoot with a much more affordable film stock, and that's Fuji C200. I think of the cheaper film stocks that are out there, this one is probably my favorite. It's a fine grain stock with really beautiful colors that I think works pretty well in most daylight situations. You definitely get that Fujifilm look with this stock, and it comes at a very low price. For the price of one CineStill 800T roll, you actually get 3 of these in one pack. So, you know, it's no question that this is one of the more popular film stocks out there, and a lot of people highly recommend to pair it with a point and shoot camera. And that's what I'll be doing today in this video, shooting it with the L35AF. This camera came out in 1983, and it was actually Nikon's first autofocus compact camera. Like most point and shoots, this camera's main selling point is its really great lens. You wouldn't know it just by looking at it, but there's 5 elements in this lens, and it's probably one of the better lenses out there when it comes to point and shoot cameras. The images that come out of this camera are incredibly sharp, and a lot of that is thanks to its really good autofocus as well. It's a bit finicky using the autofocus sometimes, but what's really nice about this camera that you don't see in a lot of other point and shoots is in the viewfinder, you have this very crude looking autofocus indicator. Sort of looks like a toddler drew it, but it's actually very helpful. It's better than having no clue if you're focused near you or far away from you. This indicator, it'll show you, depending on where the little arrow is, if you're focused on something that's close to you or something that's far away from you. So just having that is really reassuring when you're using an autofocus camera point and shoot. There's actually a couple of versions of this camera, and they vary between the maximum ISO that it can go to. I believe it's either an 800 maximum ISO or 1000. This model here goes to 1000. It's not all good with this camera though. Probably the biggest flaw of this camera, and my biggest gripe with this camera, is its very flimsy battery door. Everyone mentions this door, and it's because it's so bad. It's so bad that it's actually the main cause for most of these cameras failing, because the rest of this camera is built pretty well, but for whatever reason the battery door is made out of the most flimsy, deteriorating plastic that the second this door doesn't attach well to your camera, the batteries won't be held into place properly, and thus making the camera essentially an actual brick. And that's a real shame, because this is actually a really good camera, and you'd hate to have this one piece be its biggest fault. But that's the case with this camera, unfortunately. Lastly, I want to mention the price of the camera. This has gone up quite a bit in recent years. I got this in 2018, or near the end of 2018, and I got it for around $65 used. Since then, it's practically doubled in price, and on eBay you can probably find a near mint L35AF for around $120 to $130. Okay, so we're gonna head out and shoot around downtown Los Angeles. I got some C200 with it, and we'll see how it fares. Before we get into it, I quickly want to mention today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is a massive online learning community where you can find thousands of classes, from street photography to the essentials about cinematography. You can find just about any class on the topic that interests you. One of my favorite classes on Skillshare is taught by filmmaker Ryan Booth, and in his class he talks about the different secrets to making any story a cinematic experience. From tips on how to control natural light to the way you handle your camera and how that impacts the mood of your film, it's a really great look into the process of a really talented filmmaker. So I highly recommend you guys watch this video if that sounds interesting. And all of you will get to try it out for free, because the first 1,000 of you to use my link in the description will get a free 1-month trial to Skillshare Premium. Skillshare is curated for learning, so the experience is entirely ad-free, and you get new premium classes as they launch. So big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. definitely check out the link in the description. Alright, so just loading this roll of C200. Loading this camera up is actually really easy. You just extend the film to this little red square, close the door, hit the shutter, and it will automatically wind to the first frame. Pretty simple and easy to use, just like any other point and shoot camera. Okay, so it's not often I get a photo I really love on the very first frame of a roll, but I really like this one. The colors of this film stock are sort of on full display here. You get the nice, vibrant, yet sort of muted look. Sort of reminds me of classic chrome. What do you guys think? I noticed these fancy orange chairs here and they kind of catch my attention. I thought this image came out super clean. Honestly, this is one of those shots where I probably wouldn't be able to tell this was shot with a point and shoot camera. You know, it really showcases how sharp this camera, or this lens, can be. Oh, by the way, I should mention why I was in LA to begin with. I was out here to be part of this online workshop with Moment. It's all about digital Fujifilm photography. It's a pretty extensive workshop that goes through the essentials from, you know, recommended camera settings, lifestyle photography with Fujifilm, portraiture. I have a segment on street photography, so I'll have the link to it in the description if that sounds interesting to you guys. Okay, so this is obviously out of focus, and it's pretty much my fault though, because, you know, I wasn't really focused on the indicator. I get in this kind of point and shoot mode using point and shoots where I don't really think all too much, and it's not a good habit that I have using point and shoots. Let me know in the comments if you guys feel the same way I do when using one of these type of cameras. Pretty sure this is private property. Don't tell anyone, just passing through. Okay, so I'm sort of scoping this area out. I'm trying to see if I can get, you know, an interesting perspective being from this higher up level, looking down on the sidewalk. Pretty stoked to find this location here with this sculpture. I forget who the artist is, but I've seen this red sculpture in numerous cities, and you know, I've never been to LA before, so you know, I'm assuming this is a pretty regularly photographed location, but I was pretty psyched to find this naturally. So I noticed this lady is actually coming up here, and I'm hoping she's gonna go across that bridge, so I kind of just act like I don't know what I'm doing, and then I kind of wait for her to cross. Thank you, lady. Best shots 22. I see all these shapes happening, kind of formed by the shadows, the building and the light, and I kind of wait for someone to walk right into this frame. So I turn around for a second here and I notice this pretty cool looking vintage car. That guy's got a cool car. I'm gonna wait for this. I don't know, cinematic movie vibes from this one. It's probably the car, but like just the angle of it. You know, you have the whole cityscape in the background. Fuji C200 colors are really doing a great job here. The reds are they just pop in a way. They're not very saturated or bright. I sort of wish this bird was placed better, but oh well. Black crop bars on this, definitely works. So overall, this is a very excellent point and shoot camera, and you know, its lens is one to not overlook. Some would say this lens alone is worth getting this camera for, but you know, for the fast autofocus that you get, as well as that indicator, I think those are also worth getting this camera for, especially if you don't have a point and shoot just yet. I would also test your luck in thrift stores when trying to get this camera, because I've seen a lot of people find this camera in thrift stores. There's also a Canon version that's pretty similar, but I haven't shot with that camera before. But yeah, I would test your luck in thrift stores and see if you can get one for much cheaper than $120. As for Fuji C200, yeah, I really enjoyed the look of this film. You know, not everyone's going to like that magenta hue that Fujifilm film stocks have, but personally, I really like it. You know, if you edit film, you can easily take that magenta hue out. But you know, for this video, I wanted to keep it as true to what a lab would produce. So I did use Negative Lab Pro for these conversions. Everything was minimally edited, just a little boost to like, you know, shadow detail and exposure here and there, but other than that, these are pretty much untouched in terms of color. Personally, I think it works really well for architecture style photography, but yeah, I felt like it really worked well. This image, for example, I think the colors really stood out, and I think is a really good example of what this film stock is really great for. Those are my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Is this a film stock you enjoy shooting yourself? Have you even shot C200 before? So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm always eager to see what you guys have to say. As always, like the video, subscribe, comment, all that helps out the algorithm, helps me out greatly. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you guys. See ya.